While all this is happening and my allies are slowly falling apart around me, Tessie decides he's going to try to do what he was gathering materials for and cast, was it Summon Familiar, Find Familiar, whatever it's called. Because apparently we are going to need some reliable allies. Find Familiar, yes.
Okay.
So, takes an hour, so I'm basically just going to try to block all this nonsense out for an hour while they're debating whether or not Karash is whether belief matters or whether or not the divine is real. And
okay, so we'll be working on that for the next hour or so.
This is what I need in the middle of the desert. Freaking.
Yeah, I like it because it's distracting, though. What else am I going to think about? How I'm cooking alive?
Yeah. Right? Exactly.
I'm going to start asking you questions like, do you think that the feeling I get when Cord speaks to me is just from myself?
Yeah, maybe, or intuition, or
your conscience, perhaps?
Something else. I mean, I think we know enough to realize there's something out there, but I don't know. Where do you draw the line between a god and just a advanced, powerful individual? And Mike lost it.
I just love the idea of this simple-minded creature just in a place he hates, doing shit he hates, far away from his family, wanting nothing more than to just be back at home, farming and fishing, and now he's having a crisis of faith, the only thing getting him through this god-awful situation.
You're going to take it from him.
Why are you trying to break
That
our
wasn't
party
my
before we-
intent, I'm sorry.
I don't have a lot going for me. I'm emotionally fragile.
As all that is going on, and it lasts for the next hour or so, everyone is sort of loopy at this point. Like, you still have your wits about you. You're not in any danger of like riding off the wrong direction or any of that stuff. But you're kind of you're sort of feeling just hazy mentally. Like, it's just fatiguing to continue on this path like this. So it's a bit of a surprise when a spectral owl appears on Tessian's shoulder.
I have a little owl.
Yeah. I believe I am hallucinating now.
I don't know unless we have a joint. Wait, I can see in the back, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's darker in there, but your eyes take a little bit of adjustment, but you can see easily enough.
I was going to make a point of, unless we're having a shared delusion, which at this point could be, I see it too, Karash.
I'm looking over or looking behind me periodically. I'm still trying to keep my eyes on the.
Are you going to drive off into a ditch?
So I can't really pay attention too much. But what's going on now?
Keep your eyes on the road.
Yeah, doing it.
Tessian, you're a little surprised by this because where you're from is close to the ocean. It sort of stood to reason that you might have some kind of aquatic connection or something else of that nature. And instead, you have a forest creature. Just a brown owl with black speckles, and
Oh, that's so cute.
it's sitting on your shoulder, kind of like twitching its head occasionally, looking around.
I pet it a little, and I assumed we would need all hands on deck for this adventure here, especially as things are starting to unravel around us. So I thought, why not summon a familiar for ourselves here? You know, an extra pair of eyes never hurt.
That is a wonderful idea. Thank you. I could use another set of eyes. I'm assuming my vision is somewhat inhibited by all the sand and crap, I'm assuming.
It's not so much the sand and stuff. That's not especially kicking up all that badly. It just hurts to have your eyes open.
Ah, okay.
So a lot of times you just sort of got them narrowed to some extent just to keep some of the heat and just out, because it just hurts. It's bright. It's hot.
Mm-hmm.
But your vision is not like inhibited. You can still see ahead of you, which is to say you can still see an endless expanse of sand Not a lot in the way of like dunes or anything. It's relatively flat. The sand is still enough that the camels are proceeding through it, but it's also not very deep because the wagon can go across it pretty easily. It's not like the wagon wheels are digging in because it's really deep sand. Off on the very, very far distance on the horizon, you can see what appears to be some blue. And we're talking way off on the horizon.
Okay.
Can your owl produce water
No.
or frost of any kind?
He is
No,
an owl. I don't.
He is just an owl, although I can communicate with him telepathically, and I can see what he sees. I will then telepathically ask my familiar if he has a name, or if she has a name, I suppose. One or the other.
It's Falky.
Ask for its
I
slave name.
swear to God. Oh, I forgot about Falky. I had scrubbed Falky from my mind.
That's a
Thank you very
deep
much.
dive.
I like
From
that,
our
though,
fourth.
actually.
4th edition campaign. Oh my God.
His name is Bubo.
Bubo.
Oh, that's adorable.
Bubo the
The
owl.
owl?
Bubo the owl.
I think it's
Oh,
actually
God.
I think it's actually a species of owl, but this one is just named Bubo.
That is so
Fine,
cute.
It's adorable.
His
I love
name
it.
Can be Bubo. I like it. I gotta put that at
Aw.
higher levels. Boo. Is it Bo?
It looks like a great
B-U-B-O.
horned owl.
B-U-B-O? Okay.
It's a Eurasian eagle owl, and it's absolutely precious. It's not precious. It looks like it would chew my face off.
I want to look it up. Hold on.
Look what you've done.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. I didn't think
What
this
I-
was going to be the thing that sidetracked us.
What I will do is I will use
Majestic.
Bubo. I will ask Bubo if Bubo can fly around, and I'm gonna try to see through its eyes and just kind of do like just a loop around us. Make sure we're not like being like, I don't know, attacked by, I don't know, sand people that we can't see or some nonsense.
Well,
I
it
don't
is a
know.
convenient time to be doing that because I do want everyone to make a perception check. However, Tessian, you can do yours with advantage.
Yay!
Sweet.
Yay, bees!
Are we at disadvantage?
No.
'Kay.
Not
We
for
didn't fail
perception.
the survival thing.
What? Can I use my owl's perception?
14.
Can you? I don't know if I'm familiar's 16 paragraphs that well off the top of my head.
I have.
I think the owl has advantage on perception checks.
16.
Yeah, but it has a base that's higher, I think. It's got like +6 to perception or something crazy.
I can see through the
think.
familiar's eyes and hear what it hears until the start of my next turn. Okay, so it's not even. So I mean, yeah.
It has a
I guess
+3 to perception,
Oh, not that
but
bad.
it has advantage on perception checks for hearing or sight.
Okay,
So it's up
can
to
I
you if
roll
you
with
want to
it?
use his or your stat when you're looking through it. Essentially,
Oh,
I don't really.
I think my stats for perception are not as good, so we'll use Bubo's stats.
There you go.
It's Bubo's got a +4 total.
+4.
I think so, total. Oh no,
No,
yeah,
plus
+4
three.
total. Wisdom's
+3.
base.
No,
Oh,
+3.
it's a +2. God, you're right. I don't mind me.
I just said.
I just forgot how
+3.
stats are calculated for a
just
second.
said.
Yeah,
Hold on,
they
stroke
calculate
check.
everything. Okay, well, let's see. I'll just roll my perception with advantage, and then we'll add 2 to it. So 20.
Okay, what does everybody else get? Sorry, I heard somebody say something, but I didn't catch it.
16.
14.
Crash.
11s.
Okay. What you're seeing around you primarily as you continue this journey into the 4th hour now is the same. Sand as far as the eye can see. Looking in the direction you're headed, it does seem like it's getting more hilly. There are more dunes in the section up ahead of you yet. The three of you, except for Tessian, all can see that coming up. You don't really hear anything. The wind has been noticeable. It howls on occasion as it just swirls, picks up some sand, then stops again. But for the most part, it's been quiet out here. You have seen no other signs of life, no other creatures, certainly no other travelers. Tessian, as you have Bubo make some laps at a certain range on the exterior of the covered wagon, he's circling around, and from the north, as you head southwest, you see, or he sees, and you see through him, I guess is the better way to describe it, a cloud of what appears to be just darkened dust and debris coming in your direction.
Good.
Tessin will say as much. I think something's approaching us from the north. There's a cloud, smoke, dust, and such. I can't tell what it is.
Wait, I see it too, though, right?
As he points it out
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Oh.
Because it's not really the direction you're facing, so even as you're kind of looking around, it's kind of behind you, and the people in the back especially can't really see it because the wagon's covered in that direction. But as he points it out, you can certainly like lean out or whatever, or you're in the front and just kind of look back in that direction and be like, oh, yeah, no, that's a big-ass cloud heading our way. And it's not a cloud in the up in the air sense. It is a...
Oh.
Well, let's strap in.
It's a Scorpion King cloud.
I'm sure the mummy. It's the mummy. In
Great.
fact, not the Scorpion King.
Well, the rock's not in that one, so fuck that.
Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm sure it's headed this way, so everybody strap in. When you mess with the desert, I suppose the desert messes back.
Strappy in.
He means gird your loins.
That one I probably
He understands that one.
I understood that one.
Yes, thanks, Cap.
So obviously, Boobo needs to come back, and then we'll close the tent and or the back of the wagon if we can. I don't know. We'll secure ourselves properly.
Is this a storm that is coming?
I mean, it kind of looks like one, yeah, or at least it's a big enough cloud that it could be.
It's starting to look like that, and it's getting bigger and closer. And now at this point, you're actually starting to hear it approaching. A low rumbling sound.
Michaela, did we determine that you can talk to the camels or no?
No, because I don't have that spell in my arsenal. But I mean, I could probably get it if I really wanted
Well, my
it.
question is, are the camels like, yeah, this is like every Tuesday, or like, no, this is bad, and we should probably try to actually do what we can to bunker up them as well? Or if they're fine, just
I had
keeping
that thought
going.
too. I don't know. How are they looking right now?
They sort of look like they're splitting the difference. Like, they're not unconcerned about what's happening. They're also not, like, freaking out. Like, horses, a lot of times, if they're spooked by a storm, especially like a thunderstorm, will kind of start acting nervous, jittery, maybe even bucking at times. The camels are looking off in that direction as they keep walking. Like, they keep periodically just peering over their shoulders, like... But they're also not like, oh shit, they're not trying to pull away from your control, and but they don't look stoked about it.
Hmm.
Are they gonna split
More
the
like,
difference? Like
crap,
Calypso's like, I fucking got this,
He's
and the other
pulling
one's
like
like,
a motherfucker.
I don't think so.
That would be amazing.
Should we, team? Should we all bunker up? I don't think it's good to leave Lena up here driving the camels, which means it's probably not good to keep going until the storm passes.
I do not know how to weather a storm of the desert.
Are there any, is it just flat everywhere we can see, Chris? There's no, like, little, obviously probably not any caves, but even, like, little outcroppings or anything like that?
Not
Large
especially.
boulders?
No.
I might as well stop the wagon and cover ourselves. I do not know.
Is there any hills
would
that we
not
were
be
coming
able
up
to
on,
see
or not
when it is-
really?
Sand dunes of a sort, sure.
Hmm.
Not likely to offer a lot of protection. And at this point, you're not hearing...
Yeah, we're not going to outrun that. Okay, I guess we'll stop
The
and...
gravel door is open.
I guess I'll secure the
Oh,
camels.
it's the shrine. You found it.
Yeah,
Go
good.
in. Cool.
And
Can we feel it? Can we feel the ground?
At this point, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
This doesn't feel like a storm per se.
It's not like... It doesn't feel like an earthquake, but
Okay.
the storm is having enough of an effect that you can start to kind of feel the wagon just jittering every so slightly.
All right, I'm going to put some kind of blanket over my head, and more or less wrap my face up, and put like some kind of stop underneath the wagon wheels so that they can't like get down and actively like put this thing into a position where it won't roll away in the middle of all this.
So we do have a way to cover the wagon, yeah? Completely?
You can close it off to some extent, yeah. How much this is going to protect you from this is not clear yet, but it's certainly better than nothing.
Well, because if it was an open wagon, I would almost suggest let's get under the thing. But if it can be closed off relatively well, it probably just makes sense.
There's a pretty sturdy canvas covering to it, yeah. That's
Okay.
part of Tessian's order.
Okay.
Closing it off, it does seem like there are still a few gaps in it, but it is certainly more of a shield than the alternative.
Do we have anything to cover the camels with? Tessian is part of that.
I mean, if I could look through the blankets and stuff, I doubt it. We have anything to like just toss over them all the way. Probably just stuff to keep them cool or warm at night.
I can toss my cloak over.
Wasn't somebody supposed to come with us so that the camels could be
Yeah, I forgot
taken
about
back?
that.
Oh.
That's okay. So
Well,
we
let's
forgot
pretend
about it. We should have thought about it. Now we have to deal with the consequences.
He was in the back getting the blankets for the camels
Yeah,
in case it was a dust storm, and
he's
I was
been-
like, "Where the hell they go?"
He's been hanging on to the underside of the wagon the whole time.
He's like,
Oh my god, Cape Fear!
he's looking at us in the distance. He's like, oh,
Hello.
Oh no. Oh no.
It's Robert De Niro, and he's really, really, really enthusiastic about us.
Mhm.
So I would cover up the wagon, the camels with my cloak and stuff, and then I guess hunker in the back.
The blankets do seem like they might help. They're pretty big. They could have been intended for this, or for you, or something of that nature. Relatively durable.
And I am going to put on my mask actually at this point.
I think we're gonna bunker down. We'll stop.
Yeah.
Try to secure everything, cover everything, so it doesn't get like sandlogged, and then I guess just see how bad this is. Wait it out.
And about that time is the expiration of the preparation time that you have, because
Yay.
as you cover the camels to the best of your ability and then hunker in the back and close the canvas up as best you can, that noise becomes extremely loud, to the point where in the back, as you've huddled together, you can, if you even attempt conversation, it has to almost be screaming for the person next to you to hear you. That level of noise.
Is it cooler at least?
So it's strange because the canvas is relatively thick, as I mentioned, but you can still sort of tell when this goes from bearing down sun to some kind of alternative to that, where it just feels like the sun is gone, and yet it does not feel almost any cooler. No.
Oh.
In some ways, having closed it off and being in such tight confines, it's getting warmer as you all are in a small space, breathing carbon dioxide all over each other.
Great.
Not to the point where we're worried about suffocating or anything, but just it doesn't do much as a reprieve from the heat, even though that seems counterintuitive because you're shaded from it, and yet it still feels almost as oppressive as it did before. You can hear the canvas straining against this whipped up sand and dust and dirt and debris on the outside. And through the occasional gap in it where it ties off, because it's not really meant to be fully enclosed, there is still some of that sand whipping around on the inside too, as does the wind. And it's got almost like howling noise as it passes through these tight spaces, almost like it's whistling in a way, but deeper than that, louder. Start feeling the sand just caking against your skin or your armor where you're clothed and you're covered. Your face can kind of feel it. It feels like it's in your hair to some
It's
extent.
everywhere.
Kind of, yeah.
It's coarse and
Yes. It's kind of caked on at a certain point, even though it's like the majority of it is being stopped by the canvas of this cover. What does get inside is still blowing at such force that it still just kind of attaches to everything on the inside. Takes about 15 minutes of hunkering down before this finally starts to quiet to some extent and the noise subsides a bit and the force of the wind lessens to some extent. And a couple more minutes after that, it returns to the same quiet as before. Still, everyone's covered in dirt. Particularly on the side that was facing the exterior of the wagon, whichever way you were sitting when you were facing. Like that side in particular is just kind of like plastered in dirt and dust and sand. And it's kind of weird because it's caked on as though you were like at the beach and it was wet. You know how like wet sand will kind of like get everywhere and then stay, but this isn't wet at all. There's no moisture in it whatsoever, and yet it still is just caked all over the side of you in particular.
Well, bad news. Camels are dead. So
I'm gonna check on them as soon as it seems like it's quiet and there's no more wind whipping around. I'm gonna open up the.
be careful. Is it? Oh, yeah. What do we see when we peek our heads out, Chris?
It looks as though there was no storm. You
Okay.
can see the cloud off on the southern side, basically, still heading in that direction. But it's much as though there was never anything here.
I wanted to make sure we weren't in the eye of the storm. I know it wasn't a tornado, but I just wanted to make sure.
And here comes wave 2.
Excellent.
Camels don't seem to be too worse for wear. They are pretty well off, considering the blanket does appear to have helped quite a bit. There's a decent amount of stuff caked on the right side of their faces that you can kind of brush off of them.
I will absolutely brush it off their faces.
They have +1 in their affinity for you
Aw, yay!
on a scale of 100.
Oh. Still good, though.
Inroads, though. But it looks like it is safe to continue. It also looks as though those things are pretty nasty. And someone caught out here are exposed. It's not good.
Yeah, that could have been bad.
I will use a combination of like prestidigitation or my gust spell. It kind of kicks up wind or whatever to try to like whatever blow, like leaf blower all this stupid sand out of things, you know.
Okay. It's enough to help get the job done. Takes some time, but you have time as you continue forward. You know, you can take the time as you're moving on to be like, all right, well, let's work on you now, Karash, and get some of that off of him, and then each person in turn, whatever order you want, obviously, not him first, but whatever. Len, I'll have you make a nature check.
Alrighty.
So we'll speed through the last part of this.
Speed, speed, oh, speed, 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 speed.
Excuse you, roll 20. Didn't freaking roll.
I'm sorry, what I meant to say was I'll have you make a nature check sometime today.
Oh, okay. 23.
Ah. You feel a little bit off kilter after this because you're already sort of put off by the quixotic nature of this entire setup. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel unnatural. Again, it just feels like something's been twisted about the nature that you've come to know and love, this connection that you have with the animals and the plant life and the natural order of things. It feels like, again, this is natural. This is a thing that exists in the world. It wasn't created. It wasn't man-made. But it's just so starkly different. But having gotten past the storm and now having a chance to be more used to this feeling that you have, you do have a honed-in sense of where to head. And you're able to kind of steer the camels in that direction as these dunes continue to increase in size. And after another 15 minutes or so, you come across what appears to be... Actually, I'll have everybody make a perception check.
Oh,
As you're cresting the top of one of these dunes,
20.
from the movie Dune.
sandworms.
Please no.
God, no, please.
7.
14.
14.
What you got?
Can Boobo make a check? I got a 7.
Yeah, I suppose you can. Sure. Sure.
I'm making some stats. He got a 21.
Lena, your
around.
sense sort of pulls you in a particular direction as you crest this hill, and Bubo, because he's the MVP, is also able to sort of point out that there does appear to be some kind of entrance to something sort of half buried in sand in between two of these dunes out here in the middle of nowhere.
Okay. Well,
Give
that
him
looks
a little
promising.
scrunch on the top of his little feathery head, because he's already doing more work than any of us. And point it out, over there, Bubo has spotted something.
Oh, nice work, Bubo. And I guess I'll head over in the direction of the entrance.
One of the things you find pretty quickly is that these are stairs that lead in. The interior of them have some sand within them. If the wind is picked up in a particular direction, it seems to have blown some in at times. But it's not to the point where it's impassable. Like, you can get inside, the wagon's not going to fit. Probably wouldn't have even without some of the sand lingering on one of the sides of the walls, but in particular, the wagon's probably going to have to stay out here. Luckily, camels are probably fine in that situation. It's getting to be about midday at this point, so you have still quite a few hours before potential nightfall, but it appears that you have found the next entrance to the next shrine for the stop of Conatus.
Finally!
Excellent. Oh, thank goodness.
When we're done with this journey, I'm going to move into a nice house and never leave. Ever. For any reason.
So we get out. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to bring extra water with us probably. We don't know how long we'll be in there, but make sure everyone's got a canteen.
Yep.
And make sure the camels are secured.
As much as they can be. Probably give them some water too. They did a good thing today. Did a good job for us, so.
And now who knows how they'll get home.
We were supposed to have a dude!
Wah, wah.
It's fine. Kellen made arrangements. She'll take care of it.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank goodness.
Or will she?
Deus ex dead machina.
All right. So, you guys head down the staircase and inside.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going in first.
It is an improvement in there to some extent. There's still some sand scattered across the ground. It is cooler. Not cool by any means. Still hot. But being out of the wind when it was picking up at times and just the sun in general does make a difference. Again, still, like 90 degrees probably, but it's not 115. So, feel things are looking up a little bit. And after a short walk down this hallway, the stairs sort of descend for a bit and then level off. And eventually enters a somewhat familiar room at this point with a door across the way, a circular dais in the middle, surrounded by torches that are already lit. And seemingly in response to, Lena, your entrance in particular, another bright light envelops the dais, and when it fades momentarily, another person.
Oh no, not again.
He shrinks.
So Samuel, as you come to consciousness, you have this vague recollection of missing time. The last thing you remember doesn't jive with where you are now. This location's unfamiliar to you, and you're surrounded by a dragonborn, a genasi, an elf, and a human that are not familiar to you.
Shirtless human.
with a cloak wrapped around his head. That are all sort of looking down at you with a quizzical but somewhat expectant look on their face.
Mostly annoyed from the human, just to be clear. He has to be better than Tron, right?
Is that his name?
No, it was not. It wasn't Tron. It was. I don't
Lord
know what it was
Rexy.
either.
Whatever.
Well,
CV.
Samuel himself is sort of just standing there, trying to analyze the situation himself. He's about a 5'11" tiefling, charcoal red skin, and that goatee that indicates maybe a bit more of a devilish sort of sort of personality, and squints his eyes up at you before breaking out into a sly smile.
Oh, God.
Well, hello there. Any among you know what's going on over here?
Yes, we do actually. And then I'll explain that you were basically. How do I explain this?
How do you explain
Ah,
it?
this is tough.
You've been dead
You were
for a
like
very long
taken.
time.
You were summoned here. Your presence was summoned here. We are on a quest, the Conatus, and in each of the shrines, someone is called upon to assist us in this journey. And it would seem that you have been summoned.
Well, there must be some sort of mistake. I mean, I had an appointment. 3 o'clock at the bar with a good friend of mine. You see, these cosmic gears, they get a little bit squeaky every once in a while, need a little bit of oiling. So if you just mind, sending me back into the ringer, the revolving door could probably spit somebody else back out. Maybe a little bit more suited for what you're looking for.
Yeah, it doesn't really work like that. Trust us, we would like to get rid of you as much as you would, but we're kind of bound to, what did you call it? The gears of fate?
Pardon my associate's attitude. What he means to say is we have yet to figure out exactly how all this works. We simply know that it does. I will say that we do know by the time we finish our task here, you will be unable to leave this place, and to our knowledge will disappear back into the cogs of fate. We are unsure exactly where it will spit you out after that, but there's certainly the possibility that it returns you once you came.
So he sort of sits there and contemplates for a good moment. Well, seeing as I have very little other option, I may as well join you for this particular endeavor.
Well, it's good to hear. I am Tessian, and these are my associates, and Tessian introduces everyone as Lena, Isaac, and Karash. And this is Bubo here. Bubo's like, woohoo. And then, yeah, that's...
sort of leans in and says, Samuel Brittlesworth, pleasure.
A pleasure indeed, sir. Well, I hate to say it, but the task ahead of us is typically fraught with some kind of danger and puzzles and the sort. So any assistance, big or small, that you can offer us would be appreciated.
What my associate means to say, Samuel, goatee, and I'm shaking out my cloak from all the sand, is the faster we get through this, the faster we can all go home. So let's get on with it.
Alrighty then. And he sort of straightens his clothes and proceeds towards you guys a bit cautiously and eyeing you through his lashes.
Beautiful lashes.
Very beautiful lashes, may I just say.
Yes, he's a beautiful boy, yeah?
Yes, a big, maybe not in terms of muscularity, but tall and lithe, and somebody who stands with a bit of confidence to himself.
Probably got more charisma than I do, so that's good.
Who knows?
I'm going to throw the cloak back on.
Okay,
Oh,
cloak back on.
Christ.
Proceeding onward.
Is your shirt on though?
Yeah, I mean it's
Okay.
it's coming on.
Okay.
I'm shaking it out from all the sand.
God.
It's only partway on. What are you just walking around with?
Well, no, like I'm it's coming. I'm getting it, and shaking the sand out of my hair,
Very gradually.
out of my now shorter beard that started to grow back in after shaving it.
I'm looking around for the expected pedestal.
That's the thing that Samuel came in on, yeah?
Right.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's a
wow,
raised,
never
like a
mind.
slightly raised platform in the center. Runes
With
on
the
it.
palm print then.
Torches.
Well, there's the door now.
There's a
we
door.
gotta-
Yeah, I'm gonna
gotta
start.
approach the door.
I'm gonna. Yeah.
So,
Door.
Samuel, in previous instances of this, we've come across a man who thought himself to be a god and a tinkerer who proved quite useful. You don't seem to have any such gimmick. You are just headed to the bar. Is there something more to you that we're missing?
Is
Are you an idiot?
Pardon them.
I would not consider myself an idiot. No.
Well, then
though
you're an
you
improvement
might.
from the last one, that's for sure.
A bit of a bard myself, only in title though. I think other titles fit me better. Though I didn't come here to be your problem. I didn't think.
Well, good to hear, actually.
It's, anything is an improvement over the last one.
Yes, our last assistant in these endeavors was a man who thought himself one of the divine. I assure you he was much less than probably even mortal. Not all there. So, yes.
If you're going to ask us to worship you, Goatee, I just ask you give me a warning and I'll blow my brains out now.
No intention to have you worship, though you may if you wish.
I see. You and Grail would have gotten along famously.
Another dead person, it does not matter.
I shrug, just going along with things best I can.
Probably for the best.
That's all you can do with this group. It's what I have to do sometimes.
Shh. Let's go in the casino again, guys.
There's some more people inside I want to name. Who's that blackjack dealer? Give that name, a son of a bitch. If you guys head into the first door, not to push you along, but you know,
We have places to
Railroad.
be.
we do. If there is anything that's linear in this campaign, these things are pretty much it. Who is leading the way here?
Me.
You're doing it, Lena?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Having-
You've already learned that's the only way to do it.
Having learned from the first time, huh?
Yep.
As you go to open this door, it has a handle. Feels warm to the touch. Not unbearably so. Not problematically so. Just like, shouldn't feel like this if it was just a normal doorknob.
Yeah.
But it does turn, it is not locked, and opens into a relatively small room. Low ceilings, maybe 10 feet at most. About 25 by 25 across. Looking into it now, you see the walls are all made of stone. Relatively smooth. That kind of unnatural smoothness that you've seen in a couple of the past shrines where it's like this was made but not by hand because it's much too well done for that. It would be a lot more jagged, and you would notice it if it was made by human hand. And there appears to be a grid-like system on the ground. You would almost say it was a 5x5 grid of squares. And you are stepping into the corner of this room. You can actually see the two walls alongside you as you enter this doorway. The door, as is tradition, closes behind you as you enter the room. And what you see before you now is almost nothing in the room. There is a statue in the center of it, facing away from the group. So you can't really see what it is. It looks to be human in nature, like it's somebody in some kind of armor, but you can't make out, what race they are, what exactly they have going on with them. Their face you can't see from here. And beyond that, the room is quiet, and there doesn't appear to be any other movement or sound inside of it at the moment.
This room's pretty boring so far. Where's the giant with riddles?
I cast mage armor because I don't trust anything that's happening.
What?
Oh, Tessian, you're getting jumpy.
Well, like you said, the last time there was a statue, or no, it was a giant. Last time we were in this first room, it tried to ask us riddles and then drop us into pits. So I'm not going to take any chances. But I'm gonna motion for Lena to maybe go forward.
Yeah, I don't know, Goatee. Maybe
Yeah.
you can try to seduce whatever's in this room.
Would you like me to? I can certainly get to try.
By all means, go for it.
Okay,
Take
I'm
a-
walking up to the statue.
Wait. I
I'm
want to
already,
see what Samuel does
halfway
here.
across the room.
Hold on.
I want to see the seduction
God.
chance first.
Okay. And I saunter up to whatever this individual is, and I'm like,
As
"Hello
you
there."
as you try to take a step forward outside of this first square in the grid, you immediately hit a wall in front of you of fire.
Oh. Okay.
Whoopsie.
Okay.
You take
And saying the tiefling first ended up being a wonderful choice.
5 points of fire damage, of course.
Okay.
Oh, Goatee, are you okay over there?
Just fine, thank you.
Is that how
I
you
think
seduce people in your time?
Usually, it's a different kind of flames.
Ah.
And it does seem to stop you with enough force that it kind of like knocks you back a little bit. Not in a painful way. It's more like a shock, kind of like but it does prevent you from moving forward in that direction.